All right, let's dive right into this explainer because it is absolutely going to reframe how you think about human interaction. If you've ever wanted to literally think faster on your feet and speak with unshakable authority, you need to internalize one fundamental truth. Communication? It's not just some soft skill. It is a hard, biologically driven science used by the top 1% to command literally any room they walk into. So today, we're unpacking the exact neuroscience-backed tools that determine what makes someone magnetic and what makes someone instantly forgettable.
To make this super easy to digest, we're breaking things down into 5 chronological steps. We'll cover why communication is a science, how to hook the brain, how to think fast and speak concisely, a hyper-tactical 3-2-1 speaking trick, and finally, how to persuade and close. And by chunking the information this way, we're actually practicing segmented speech processing right out of the gate, so your brain won't get overwhelmed. So let's kick things off with this first concept, communication as a hard science. We have to realize that people are responding to your emotional signals way before a single word even leaves your mouth. It's honestly less about the script you've memorized and way more about the underlying biology you bring into the room.
To put that into perspective, think about the number 200. 200 milliseconds. That's literally less time than it takes to blink. Neuroscientists at the University of Parma found that's all it takes for the mirror neurons in someone's brain to fire up when they're looking at you. Meaning, whoever you're talking to is mirroring your physical and emotional state, your tension or your calm, almost instantly.
Researchers call this the Neuroecho Effect. Basically, if you speak with tension, their nervous system completely tenses up. If you're scattered, they're scattered. But if you're grounded, they become grounded. Our source shares this incredible example of walking into a super tense private equity meeting. Imagine a mahogany table full of argumentative executives talking over each other like caffeinated squirrels. Well, instead of shouting to be heard, the author simply pulled up a chair and sat quietly. And within 90 seconds, the entire room's energy totally shifted back to a calm state, simply because they unconsciously mirrored that groundedness faster than they could even process words. Moving right along to our second step, hooking the brain. Once you've anchored the room's energy with your physical presence, you actually have to capture their active attention. And you do this by bypassing logic entirely and appealing straight to their biology.
Here's the deal. Human brains are essentially addicted to novelty, not logic. It's a biological reflex called the orienting response. Anytime your brain encounters a surprise, or a curiosity, or a break in a pattern, it literally diverts massive processing power to figure it out. This means your opening sentence matters more than the rest of the conversation combined. Starting with a bold statement or a really strange question forces the listener's brain to manually process that novelty, locking their attention right onto you.
And this brings us to what researchers at the University of Munich call the simplicity anchor. You know how we often try to use $20 words to sound smart, like saying, "This is a highly cogent argument." Well, science shows that when you use simpler language, just saying, "that makes sense," listeners actually rate you as having a higher IQ, they see you as more competent and more trustworthy. All that overly technical jargon, it just makes people assume you're insecure or hiding something. Drop the jargon to project real intelligence.
Which leads us perfectly into our third step. Think fast and speak concisely. If you really want to master communication and project true authority, you have to understand the actual physical mechanics of your voice. Think about this for a second. Have you ever noticed that very distinct, almost sing-song rhythm that yoga teachers use during a class? That's not just some weird quirk of the job. They are actively using a biological mechanism to regulate your nervous system and your breathing, just through the pure tone of their voice. It's a phenomenon called vocal entrainment. University College London discovered that humans will subconsciously sync their heartbeats to the rhythm of a speaker's voice. If you speak in a rushed, panicked way, their heart rate literally spikes. Speak steadily, they feel safe. Plus, Princeton research backs up something called the processing fluency effect. If you speak with a steady rhythm and use concise one-liners, the listener's brain processes it so quickly that it automatically assumes you must be correct, just because the information was so easy to digest.
So how long should you be speaking? Well, MIT researchers found that human attention falls off an absolute cliff after just 12 seconds of continuous speech. That's it. It's exactly why social media algorithms thrive on 5 to 10-second hooks. If you want to be heard, you really need to speak in 5 to 10-second sprints. Imagine you're in a heated argument where everyone is just monologuing. If you break that cycle, deliver a short, 10-second point, and then simply stop talking, your clarity completely skyrockets. By keeping it short, you force the other person to actually hear you. And it's not just your voice. Your physical posture dictates your brain's processing speed, too. UC Berkeley found that hand gestures actually precede speech in the brain. Moving your hands literally helps you form thoughts faster. It's called gesture priming. On the flip side, hiding your hands triggers a literal caveman-era fear response in others. Their primitive brain wonders if you're concealing a weapon. And simply opening your ribcage by rolling your shoulders back, that lowers your stress hormone, cortisol, and signals calm dominance to the entire room.
All right, let's look at step 4, the 3-2-1 speaking trick. This is a hyper-tactical tool you can pull out anytime you're facing a difficult, highly critical, or aggressive conversation. This is pacing at its finest.
The sequence is basically pure neuroscience. Step 1. When you get challenged, pause for exactly 3 seconds. This brief silence activates your brain's anterior cingulate cortex, completely clearing your mental windshield. Step 2. Give exactly 2 points. Our working memory can really only handle a verbal and visual track at once, so sticking to 2 points ensures you don't overwhelm them. And step 3, end with exactly 1 question.
So why end with a question? It has everything to do with the default mode network. This is your brain's baseline state of daydreaming. You know when you drive to work and suddenly realize you don't remember the commute? That's the network in action. Asking that final question in the 3-2-1 trick forcefully shuts down that network. It snaps anyone right back into the present moment and forces them into the conversation, even if they were zoning out.
Which brings us to our final step, persuade and close. You've anchored the room, delivered your message in concise sprints, and handled the pushback. Now it's time to actually drive agreement and close the deal.
Let's talk about a massive finding out of Stanford. People remember stories 22 times more than statistics alone. 22 times. Why? Because a story causes neural coupling. It lights up the sensory cortex, the motor cortex, and the limbic system all at the same time. If you just rattle off spreadsheet numbers, you only hit the rational brain. But if you tell a quick story about a toddler touching a hot stove, your listener viscerally feels the lesson.
Pairing perfectly with that, Cornell research highlights the insane power of perceptual language. These are words people can literally see in their mind's eye. Saying we must improve operational efficiency is just corporate noise, but saying we need to see fewer steps creates an instant mental image. This is exactly why drawing out a complex idea on a whiteboard with markers works so much better than just talking about it. You have to show, not just tell.
Now, here's a tiny vocabulary tweak with huge scientific backing. Columbia University found that statements framed as observations are seen as 40% more credible than opinions. If you say, I think, it signals low confidence and emotion. But if you swap that out for, I've observed, it implies you have hard data and real experience backing you up. You instantly shift from sounding unsure to being a high data authority.
So how do we build the trust needed to seal the deal? Well, Harvard research shows a really fascinating shortcut. You don't even have to agree with someone to build deep trust with them. Just sharing roughly equal speaking time feels biologically just as good to the human brain as total agreement. Our source actually tested this live on a news panel during a furious debate on socialism versus capitalism. By strictly giving their opponent equal floor time without any emotional interaction, the opponent walked away feeling amazing about the interaction, even though they agreed on absolutely nothing.
Finally, when it is time to wrap things up, skip those soft, open-ended questions like, let me know what you think. Don't do it. Instead, use what's called a cognitive close. Assert the next steps directly by saying, here's what I recommend we do next. Studies show this definitive close increases the chance that people will actually follow your recommendation by 60%. It provides that calm leadership exactly when their brain is looking for direction.
So I'll leave you with this. Which of these neuroscience hacks are you going to start using today? Are you going to leverage the 200 millisecond neuroecho effect, the short vocal sprints, or the 3-2-1 trick to cut right through the noise? Because at the end of the day, the game of business, and honestly, the game of life, is really just a game of communication. And hopefully this explainer has given you the exact scientific tools you need to go out there and master it.